Hi, I'm Cody Anderson, one of the pastors here at Parker United Methodist Church. Now, right now, I'm sitting in our sanctuary and it is quiet. It is empty. I can hear my voice echoing through this space. But we don't build sanctuaries to sit and be empty, right? The intended purpose of building a sanctuary is to fill these pews, to have people come who are seeking, who are looking for community, and to come and to be with others, to come and to worship, whether they are rejoicing and celebrating or whether they are lamenting, to come, to be with others, to come into a space where seats are filled, and to hopefully have an encounter with God. An encounter that grounds them in who they are, beloved children of God, and that also grounds them in that call to go out into the world and to share that love with others. And I love those days where the sanctuary is filled. They're my favorite days of the whole year. Days like Easter and the last few Sundays where it can't help but smile at all of the faces that are coming into this place to worship. Days like Christmas Eve where so many come to gather and we lift our candles high and the darkness in this large space begins to fill with light. Those are some of my favorite days in this space. And yet, more often than not, this sanctuary that has been built and intended to be filled sits like this, empty, quiet. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't moments throughout the week where people do come into this place, where there's noise. Tomorrow morning, I know that Miss Noel will be here with our preschool kids and worship, and this space will take on a new life, and there will be beautiful noises that come from the children. And yet, more often than not, this space is quiet. There's something really sad about an empty sanctuary, but there's also something really sacred about it too. About a space that is intended to be filled, but yet there's purpose in these moments in this space as well. I love to come in here when it is quiet, to just sit, to pray, or to just be, to have space, to reflect, and to ground myself in a different kind of peace. You see, there's beauty in these moments too. Over the last few weeks, we've been thinking about some of these resurrection encounters with Jesus. The disciples having gone through so much pain, so much heartache, so much brokenness, and Jesus entering into their lives. And this last Sunday, we reflected on the last of the encounter stories that we're going to think about. The disciples are heartbroken, right? They find themselves after Jesus' death, after hopefully those encounters with Jesus behind those closed doors, but they kind of find themselves in this space of having a broken heart and not knowing what to do. And then you have Peter who has a different kind of broken heart. Not only does he have a broken heart of losing Jesus, of dealing with all of the grief of things that have happened, but also Peter he has a broken heart because he denied Jesus. He feels like he completely let Jesus down. He betrayed him. He denied him. And there's nothing worse than that kind of broken heart when you feel like who you were meant to be and who you ended up being don't quite measure up. And so they return to what they know. Peter returns to the boat, to the sea, to fishing. And some of the disciples decide to join him. And I keep reflecting on how sometimes it is easier just to go back to what we know than to continue to push through and go forward. Right? The disciples, they had been called by Jesus. Jesus who told them to go, to tell others, to go and to share this good news, to continue the work. Instead of pushing through, they go back to what they know. I mean, what's the point in continuing? What's the point in continuing to do what Jesus has called them to do and continuing this mission that Jesus had? And in this moment, when all feels lost, Jesus draws them back into the story, into his story. So the disciples and Peter have been out on a boat fishing, and they've caught nothing. And early in the morning, this man on the beach yells at them to cast their nets to the other side. And all of a sudden, those nets are filled with fish. And the disciples immediately in that moment recognize who Jesus is. And Peter, being Peter, we love Peter, he just jumps into the water because he's impulsive and he just can't wait any longer. And he swims to the shore as the disciples pull in their catch and get to the shore. And Jesus is there, and he has built a fire and he's prepared breakfast for them. It is this beautiful moment with Jesus because it is so easy and simple. I mean, it's just breakfast. It's just a normal part of their day. And he invites them to just come, to sit, to eat. There's no rush. There's no rush to getting back to the things that they need to do. There's no rush. Just come and sit and have this easy encounter with Jesus. Now, there's something really beautiful about a quiet beach early in the morning. Unfortunately, living in Colorado, it's not like we have those moments every day. But those few times that I have been able to get out on a beach early in the morning, to watch as the colors go from that really dark midnight blue, which happens to be one of my favorites, but then you start to see lighter blues creep in as the light comes in. There's something so still and so quiet. It's almost like an invitation from God just to come and to sit and to just be. To not rush into the day, but to have this moment that grounds you, that is sacred, that is an invitation to just simply be. Every morning, God is breathing invitation into our lives, inviting us into this space of an altar with the divine, to have an encounter with God that reminds us who we are and then who we're called to be. And so Jesus is sitting there with the disciples, acting as if everything is normal, right? When we know that nothing is normal. There has been a huge transformation that has happened. Jesus is no longer the same Jesus as he was. He has been resurrected. And the disciples are not the same disciples as they were. they have been changed by the events as well. There's no going back. But Jesus doesn't rush them through that moment. Jesus simply invites them to be. And in that discussion with Peter, remember, Jesus asked him 3 times, "Do you love me?" And each time, Peter responds, "You know I do, Jesus." And then he gives him some direction. Feed my sheep, tend my sheep, take care of my sheep. Jesus is reminding Peter and all of us that loving Jesus isn't just about a feeling that we have inside of us, but it's a way of living, of continuing to put ourselves out into the world, a call to be a shepherd as Jesus is our good shepherd, to notice those who are around us who are hurting, to take care of the lost, to feed and clothe those who are in need, to sit and be with those who are hurting, to remind others that they are a beloved children just as we are. You see, it's an invitation to be, but it's also an invitation to go. To go, to continue on with what Jesus started off doing. Sometimes we find ourselves in places that we didn't intend to be, in situations that we thought would look different. And while there's heartache and heartbreak and devastation and a lot of we had hoped, there's also something sacred in those moments as well. Because just like Jesus met the disciples on the beach in that moment, Jesus meets us in these moments as well. In the moments where we don't know if we're able to go on, in the moments where we want to turn back, in the moments where we had hoped that things would be different. And Jesus sits with us and feeds us and allows us some space to just sit and be, and then reminds us that we are loved, and that as we love Jesus, then we must act on that love. We must go and continue on the work. The resurrection stories are my favorite because they're so wonderful to be able to put yourself in those moments. So I invite you to sit in those stories, to think about what it would be like if you were a disciple sitting there, what you would want to say to Jesus, what you might hear Jesus say to you. And then remember that it's not just about these moments where they sit and they stay in them, but these moments are transformation moments that are supposed to move us and to call us out to go and to share, to be transformed in our lives, and to go and to feed the sheep. May we be faithful servants of Jesus. May we tend the flock that Jesus has left for us. And may our actions reflect the love that we have for God.